In this tutorial, I'm going to create a creature, and we're going to use Metaballs to do it, and Subdivide and Sculpting tool. So I'm going to just jump into a new project and just delete that by pressing X. And then if you go to Add and go down to Metaball, I'm just going to use this ball feature. And then to use this, you're just going to duplicate it. So Shift D to duplicate. You don't want to pull it apart. You want to kind of keep it attached to it. So we're going to create this body of this creature. And then when I duplicate by pressing Shift D, also press X, Y, or Z to pull it along the axis. So Shift D again, and then X or Y, whichever axis you're on. Shift D, and then X, until you kind of get the basic form. So once I've got that that form, I'm going to try and do the legs now. So I'm going to select one and then hold down Shift and select the other. And then Shift D to duplicate to kind of pull it out. And then this time Y to kind of pull it out. I'll do that one more time. Shift D and then Y. And I'll do the same on the other side. So click on one, hold down Shift to kind of click on these little circle things. Shift D, press Y. Shift D, press Y. So hopefully you kind of got a basic base for it. For the head, you can also press S to scale to kind of make it bigger or smaller. Maybe we'll do a quick little Shift D to duplicate that and bring it up a little bit. Z, and then G to grab, and then so I'm kind of trying to use those same hotkeys over and over. I'll do one more Shift D to duplicate, and we'll do Z on that one. Okay, and then for the legs, select, hold down Shift, get all these at the same time. Shift D to duplicate and press Z. Shift D and then Z to pull along the axis. I'll press S to scale. And this is kind of what I want to avoid. I'm probably a little bit too close, and I should have built it a little bit further away from each other, but I'm going to just keep going. But when you build it, try and make sure that that doesn't happen. Once I'm done with the basic building feature of this, I'm going to go ahead and select just the middle part and go to Object and go down to Convert to and do Mesh. So once I do this, it's no longer a metaball, it's now a mesh. If I go into Edit mode, it's a mesh, and I want to add a few more meshes to it. So I'm going to go ahead and press A to select it all, and then right mouse click, Subdivide. I'm going to do that twice. So right mouse click, Subdivide. That should give me enough to kind of work with. Then I'm going to go ahead and go over here to Sculpt mode, and now I have all these great tools over here. Up along the top you have strength, you have the radius you can make. You can also use the bracket keys to make this bigger or smaller, and then you can start to kind of play with this however you want. So I want this to kind of mirror, and to play with the mirroring so I can do like eyes on both sides of it. I'm going to go ahead and press N, or you can click on this little guy to bring it out. Go to View, and oh, I got to make sure I have it selected still. Tools. Okay, so under Tools, that's where I'm going to go and go to Symmetry, and this is where you basically tell it either maybe you don't want to do any mirroring, maybe you want to do mirroring on one part. So I'm going to bring up my strength a little bit more, and just kind of, you can start to create that. Maybe create a nose. And I'm just kind of clicking and dragging. Click on this subtract to kind of give it a little bit on there. So bring it back to plus, and you can start to kind of play with it. Start to build. So, and I'm mainly on this tool right here, but you can explore with some of these other ones too. That can be just as good, if not better. Some of them really do some interesting things. If you're trying to do spikes, it's a little tough with that tool because it kind of does some weird things depending on your angle. So I mean, you can use that, but I find myself using probably this one the most. There are some just kind of clicking and dragging. and then hopefully kind of get a basic creature built from using those tools. And that's all.